You know, it just is swept under the rug.
I mean, I don't know if we talked about this when when I was first living in Vienna back in the 80s, and happened to run across this Latin neighborhood that I didn't even know existed.
Okay.
As it turns out, Austria, after Yalta in World War II, had to accept refugees from the East and West.
Okay.
And I was a little young American, just out of high school, and I went, oh yeah, the bad communists, and because I had a lot of Polish and Czech guys that had escaped from behind the wall and were living in Austria. And I come across this Latin neighborhood, and these were all the people that ran from the CIA and Pinochet in Chile. And these were Tupamaros that were tortured and murdered, and the ones that were able to escape from Uruguay.
Oh, wow.
And Brazil and Argentina. This was 80s. This was 83. And, and Reagan had kick-started the death squads in Central America. And these people sat me down and said, do you realize what your government had done? I'm from Argentina. Your government took my brother because he had studied a Marx, or the dictatorship, Videla, in Argentina. They took my brother along, and there were Americans with him. Took him, put him on a helicopter, flew him out over the ocean, and dumped him. They killed hundreds of my friends.
Wow.
My pregnant girlfriend was disappeared, gave birth, was tortured to death and dumped, and her child was given to somebody else. This was your government was supporting this, and I, like I said, completely uninformed. I had no idea that this had gone on, and I had a Jesuit education with some pretty radical priests. I mean, I knew the Tupamaros existed. I knew about a lot of this stuff,
right?
But I didn't realize the extent, the depth, or the breadth of the stuff that had been done in my name. And they didn't know that I was actually pretty liberal and, Jesuit educated, and I didn't vote for Reagan. Because Reagan had just kick-started the death squads back up in Guatemala, Rio Montes and all these people. And then when the Mayans were being massacred and and supported, and Reagan's calling him, a gentleman who's getting a bad rap. And I had no idea. I was completely uninformed. And I'm more informed than most. So you can imagine. And it's the same today, which is kind of sad. And it's because we don't have a media that informs people.
So let's switch gears a little bit then, just because you brought this up, and I kind of like this. I feel like a lot of times, and this is kind of like an obvious thing, but I feel like there's this sort of something that really gets forgotten about in issues of media, consolidation and issues of the need for media reform. I think in a lot of ways, something that's really stifling this is the excessive nationalism that we have going on in this country. And why I bring that up is because, the way you said, when you got that firsthand peek under the hood, if you will, and you walked into this neighborhood, and that's why, like, just getting to the most basic, most naked, for lack of a better way to put it, just off the top of my head, concept of media in the philosophical way. These are secondhand messages that we rely on because we're limited by time and space. So you got the firsthand message. You were there. You saw it. You heard it. You touched it. You were there. You were in the neighborhood. And so all of a sudden, I mean, obviously that changed a bunch. That changed a bunch, and that probably affected your take on the media. That probably affected your take on...
It changed my life.
Of course.
Right. Because, a lot of what I had learned academically had come alive, and these people, I didn't feel threatened, like violence or anything, but these people, I felt embarrassed.
Right.
And I spoke fluent Spanish. My Spanish was better than my German at the time.
Uh-huh.
I was trying to, it was really a joke. And these people just looked at me, Ron, and shook their heads.
Wow.
Like, you're the strongest country in the world. Your country. You've done this. This has been done in your name.
Right.
And you have no idea.